The Zhenghe, by contrast, was purpose-built as a long-range training platform. It offers better living conditions, multiple dedicated classrooms, and specialized training areas, along with stronger support for food and accommodation. This ensures that during extended training voyages, cadets can maintain good physical condition. Being able to rest well and eat well keeps them motivated, energetic, and better prepared to learn modern naval knowledge during long ocean-going missions. We know that ocean voyages often last for weeks or even months. So what are the living conditions like on board? What does the accommodation look like? Let's take a look at the living quarters on the Zhenghe. The Zhenghe is the first ocean-going navigation training ship and the first vessel designed specifically for cadet internships. It has a complete set of living facilities to fully support student training. This is where our cadets live. There are 18 such cabins in total, divided into for student living areas, providing living and study space for more than 200 people. This is my cabin. As you can see, my height is almost the same as the height of the cabin. After living here for many years, I've developed a strong attachment to it, and I'm very proud of that. I think that no matter where I go in the future, I will bring my child here and tell him, this is where your father once worked and lived. I will tell him this with great pride. Let's ask Mr. Lee. Compared with the time when you served on board, how do today's living conditions differ from those on the older warships of the past? The difference is indeed quite noticeable. Although the Zhenghe is now considered an older vessel after all, it has been in service for nearly 40 years. The ship I served on was even older. At the time it was built, the Zhenghe represented the best living conditions achievable. Of course, we can still see traces of older ship designs on the Zhenghe, such as the portholes. Modern warships no longer have portholes. Their superstructures may have windows, but these are completely different from the traditional portholes along a ship's hull. We often talk about those classic hull-side portholes, and the Zhenghe still retains them. But as technology advanced and air conditioning systems, especially central air conditioning, became standard, those features gradually disappeared. These improvements make today's living conditions far better than what we had back then. With the continued development of our technology, I believe future ships will surpass even the Zhenghe in comfort and capability. Things will only keep improving. Given the construction standards of its time, the Zhenghe truly represented the best possible effort. Only when sailors can eat well and live well can they maintain strong combat readiness. In fact, the evolution of the ship's living quarters reflects the development of the People's Navy itself. Dongshu, you've also boarded many of our Navy's vessels. In your view, what aspects of the living environment have improved the most on today's ships? If we compare food and accommodation past versus present, the difference is enormous. The gap is truly dramatic. How should I put it? Older combat ships, including earlier frigates and destroyers, were designed with combat as the primary focus. Their cabin layouts often did not prioritize comfort. Today's modern destroyers and frigates, the main vessels in active service, are equipped with proper canteens. Food quality is high, with balanced meals and good nutrition. Everyone eats well, and that makes a big difference. The improvements in living quarters are even more significant. First, the living areas are intentionally placed far from noisy sections of the ship, and sound insulation is much better. This gives officers and sailors a quieter, more comfortable environment. The size of the bunks, especially their length and width, is also greatly improved, ensuring that everyone can get proper rest. The air conditioning system today is very powerful, and the air circulation system has also improved significantly. As a result, we no longer experience that hot, stuffy feeling inside the ship. These improved living conditions make modern warships much better suited for long deployments at sea. In a closed environment on the open ocean, if you can't sleep well for long periods, your physical condition will suffer, and that directly affects overall combat effectiveness. Therefore, when we build larger and more advanced warships today, we also place great importance on improving living comfort. Comfort has become an essential part of combat readiness. The Zhenghe has completed many long-distance missions, and its voyages have taken it across the globe. Behind these impressive journeys are countless unseen efforts that ensure the ship can sail safely and smoothly. We are now in the main engine room of the Zhenghe. My primary responsibilities include managing the ship's fuel and water systems, as well as auxiliary equipment that supports daily life such as boilers, ice machines, refrigeration systems, and air conditioning units. The air conditioning system requires cooling water, and beneath us is the cooling water pump, located below the engine room. However, after long periods of operation, the pump is prone to failure. When that happens, the repair workload is enormous. More than a dozen of us work together, spending an entire morning dismantling the pump and the whole afternoon reinstalling it. It takes a full day. And keep in mind, the temperature here can exceed 40 degrees Celsius. Even so, we push through the heat to ensure the crew has a comfortable living environment. In those moments, we don't think about the noise or the temperature. Our only concern is restoring the equipment's safety and functionality as quickly as possible. I've been on this ship for 8 years, and it was the Zhenghe that trained me and allowed me to see so much of the world. I've participated into overseas visits to Russia, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia. These visits themselves are a powerful form of patriotic education. During our 2015 visit, we had an unforgettable moment. While docked at a port in Vietnam, we encountered the Chinese cruise ship Gulongyu. When the Gulongyu departed, we held a farewell ceremony. From where I stood, I saw the passengers waving to us, calling out, "Long live the motherland, return home safely." When they shouted "return home safely," it felt like everything we had done was worthwhile. The short video we just watched gave us a glimpse into the lesser-known parts of the ship. So what responsibilities and missions does the engine room crew carry? Mr. Lee will help us break it down. First of all, we know that the core of the engine room is the main engine, along with auxiliary engines and supporting machinery. In other words, all of the ship's power comes from the main engine, the auxiliary engines, and the other machinery housed in the engine room. Beyond propulsion, the engine room must also supply electricity, especially on a training ship, where large amounts of power are needed for instructional equipment. This electricity is generated by the auxiliary engines. Another critical responsibility of the engine room is monitoring the ship's overall safety status. This includes stability, fire detection, flooding detection, and comprehensive monitoring of all systems, as well as determining the appropriate response measures. Even systems like fire suppression sprinklers rely on pumps controlled from the engine room. The engine room is essentially the place where a wide range of technical solutions are implemented. The chief mechanical and electrical officer works here, providing the captain with technical recommendations on issues such as fire suppression and damage control. In this sense, the engine room functions like the heart of the ship, providing propulsion, generating electricity, and offering technical support to ensure the vessel's safety. Its role is therefore comprehensive and multifaceted. In today's world of rapidly advancing technology, is the daily workload in the engine room still so demanding? If so much still requires human effort, what makes this position irreplaceable? Dong Shu, what do you think? On older ships, the working environment in the main engine room was often far from comfortable. The noise during operation was extremely loud, and the air quality was not ideal. Maintenance or system inspections often had to be carried out in very cramped spaces. But on modern destroyers and frigates, the working environment in the engine room has improved significantly. Air quality is much better, and lighting conditions have been greatly enhanced. In addition, many systems now have multifunctional displays. Operational data and system indicators are centrally shown, allowing crew members to understand the equipment's status at a glance. So while inspections are still necessary, the frequency and difficulty of the work have been reduced. Of course, essential checks on power equipment remain indispensable. This is why experienced naval technicians and non-commissioned officers still rely heavily on their ability to listen to the machinery. Over time, By understanding equipment performance, studying data, and becoming familiar with operating conditions, crew members learn that different sounds correspond to different working states. When abnormal noises appear, experienced crew can often identify potential faults or signs of instability in advance simply by listening, allowing them to carry out targeted repairs. At such moments, experience becomes extremely important. This specialized ear for the power system is a valuable skill. For this reason, the expertise of seasoned crew members remains irreplaceable, at least in the near future. Now, let's talk about braving the wind and waves and sailing across the seas. Looking back on the 39 years since the Zhenghe entered service, this maritime mobile university has become far more than a training ship. It has become the place where generations of Navy officers and sailors first set sail toward their dreams. Today, the cadets trained aboard the Zhenghe have become the backbone of the Navy across all fronts. Training ships represented by the Zhenghe will continue to write even more remarkable chapters in the deep blue. That concludes today's episode of Weapons Perspective. Thank you to our guests in the studio, and thank you all for watching. See you next time on Weapons Perspective.